Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins continue to show that their approach to building depth on the offensive line is not just about chasing big-name free agents or relying solely on high draft picks. Instead, they're mixing in developmental players who might not be on the radar of most fans, but could end up playing crucial roles when injuries inevitably strike during the long NFL season. This week, the Dolphins added 2 more young tackles to their practice squad, announcing the signings of Kadeem Telfort and Roy Mbaitika. For a franchise that has been searching for stability in the trenches for years, these moves may not grab national headlines, but they signal a commitment to leaving no stone unturned when it comes to protecting Tua Tagovailoa and supporting the team's explosive offense. Kadeem Telfort brings with him the kind of experience that makes him immediately more intriguing than just another practice squad body. Though he entered the league as an undrafted free agent, he found a way to stick around in Green Bay, where he played in all 16 games last season after a year of development on the Packers practice squad in 2023. That's no small accomplishment, especially for someone who had to claw his way into the league without the pedigree of a draft selection. Green Bay clearly saw something in him, giving him real opportunities to contribute before ultimately cutting him when rosters had to be trimmed down to 53 players in late August. That cut, however, might end up being a blessing in disguise for Miami, who now gains a player who already has live NFL snaps under his belt and the ability to step in if called upon. Roy Mbaitika, meanwhile, represents a completely different kind of story. He's not just another young tackle bouncing from one practice squad to another. He's a testament to the NFL's continued push for global talent through the International Player Pathway Program. Born in Nigeria, Mbaitika is still learning the finer points of the game, but his physical tools are undeniable. Standing tall and raw with his frame, he has spent the past few years moving between organizations, first landing with the New York Giants in 2022, then spending time with the Chicago Bears in 2023, and later with the Cleveland Browns in 2024, before most recently appearing on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad earlier this year. Though he was released in early September, Miami saw enough potential to bring him into their system. Because of his international status, the Dolphins don't even have to use one of their 16 traditional practice squad slots on him, meaning he's essentially a bonus player who could develop without taking a spot from anyone else. This international exemption is something Miami has some experience with. Not too long ago, the Dolphins carried Brazilian guard Derval Queiroz Neto on their practice squad for 3 seasons between 2019 and 2021, though he never managed to crack the regular season roster. More recently, they expected to utilize their exemption on Dominican tackle Baron Matos, but an unfortunate head and neck injury in training camp led to him being waived injured. That setback opened the door for Mbaitika, who now steps into a system that has shown patience with developmental international players in the past. The question is whether this time will be different, whether Mbaitika can do what his predecessors couldn't and grow into a role where he can actually see live NFL action. For now, the safer bet to see the field is Telfort. He has experience, he knows the speed of the league, and the Dolphins' offensive line depth chart is always one injury away from needing reinforcements. While the team hopes starters like Terron Armstead and Austin Jackson can stay healthy, history suggests Miami will need to shuffle its line at some point, and having someone like Telfort ready in the bullpen could prove invaluable. It's one thing to sign a player with promise, but it's another to know that he's already taken NFL snaps and survived against real pass rushers. That makes him a natural candidate for elevation if the Dolphins find themselves shorthanded on game day. These additions also give us a clearer picture of Miami's current practice squad. With Telfort and Mbaitika joining, the Dolphins now have 4 offensive linemen stashed away, including guards Braden Daniels and Josh Preby. This level of investment in linemen on the practice squad suggests that head coach Mike McDaniel and general manager Chris Grier are well aware of the volatility that comes with the offensive line position. Injuries, inconsistency, and the sheer importance of chemistry among linemen make it one of the hardest units to maintain throughout a season. By stacking depth, Miami is essentially buying insurance against the kinds of problems that derailed them in past years. It's also worth noting that the Dolphins didn't have to make a corresponding move to fit these two new linemen onto the squad. They already had openings, and another will soon be created when kicker Riley Patterson is signed to the 53-man roster, something McDaniel has already indicated is in the works. That flexibility made the decision easy, as it allowed Miami to take a flyer on two players with different backgrounds but similar upside potential. When you look at the entire practice squad, it's an interesting mix. Running backs Jeff Wilson Jr. and JaMycal Hasty, receivers Theo Wease Jr. and A.J. Henning, tight ends Hayden Rucci and Greg Dulcich, defensive players like Alex Huntley and Quentin Bell, and secondary depth with Isaiah Johnson, Jordan Colbert, and John Saunders Jr. It's not just a random collection of names. It's a carefully curated group designed to give the Dolphins options at nearly every position. The strategy here feels like a reflection of how Miami is building its identity. On the field, the Dolphins are known for speed, explosiveness, and highlight reel plays. But behind the scenes, the front office is prioritizing depth and development. Signing someone like Telfort shows a willingness to capitalize on proven talent that slipped through another team's cracks, while bringing in Baitika demonstrates a long-term vision that values international growth and untapped athletic potential. Both signings may seem minor today, but in the grind of an NFL season, these small moves often prove to be the ones that matter most. It's easy for fans to overlook practice squad announcements. They're not as flashy as blockbuster trades or first-round draft picks, and often the players added never make a meaningful contribution in a game. But every year, without fail, some practice squad player ends up playing a vital role. The Dolphins know this firsthand, as injuries have repeatedly forced them to dig deep into their depth chart. In that context, the arrivals of Telfort and Baitika aren't just about filling out paperwork. They're about preparing for the inevitable unpredictability of football. If Telfort has to step in and block for Tua in a critical December matchup, nobody will be dismissing the importance of this signing then. The journey of these two players also underscores the broader reality of what it takes to make it in the NFL. Telfort represents the grinders, the undrafted free agents who never get the spotlight, but fight every single day to prove they belong. Baitika embodies the dreamers, the international talents who had to leap across oceans and cultural barriers just for a shot at a sport that isn't native to their homeland. Both men face long odds to ever become household names, but their presence on Miami's roster shows that opportunity exists for those willing to work. And in a league where depth can define a season, the Dolphins are betting that somewhere in these odds lies a payoff. As Miami continues its push to compete at the highest level of the AFC, these are the kinds of under-the-radar moves that can set the tone for how prepared a team is when adversity hits. It's not just about what happens with the starters on Sundays. It's about what happens on the practice fields, in the meeting rooms, and in the margins of roster management. By adding Telfort and Baitika, the Dolphins are sending a message. They're not just focused on today's lineup, but on building a sustainable foundation that can endure the marathon of an NFL season. Whether these two tackles ever become difference makers remains to be seen, but their signings reflect the meticulous approach Miami is taking to give itself every possible advantage. And in a league where every inch matters, sometimes it's the players in the shadows who end up shining the brightest when the spotlight finally turns their way. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The NFL world is in shock this morning after the sudden announcement that Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel has tendered his resignation, sending ripples through locker rooms, front offices, and fan bases alike. Known for his innovative offensive mind and his quiet yet commanding presence on the sidelines, McDaniel's decision to step away from the Dolphins seems almost surreal, given the trajectory the team had been enjoying under his leadership. For years, fans and analysts alike have pegged him as one of the brightest young minds in football coaching, a disciple of the legendary Mike Shanahan, carrying forward a lineage of football intellect that has shaped some of the league's most dynamic offenses. Now, with just a press release and a few carefully chosen words, McDaniel has left a void that many are struggling to comprehend. Rumors are already swirling, from whispered locker room tensions to potential front office disagreements, though no official reason has yet been confirmed. What is clear is that the timing of this resignation coming at a juncture when the Dolphins were projected to make deep playoff runs and potentially contend for the AFC title, has left the entire NFL ecosystem abuzz. Mike Lee McDaniel's coaching journey is one of both persistence and pedigree. Beginning in 2005 as an assistant with the Denver Broncos, he cut his teeth under the tutelage of some of the game's most strategic minds, learning the intricacies of offensive scheming, player development, and game day adaptability. Over the years, his reputation grew quietly, the type of coach who never sought the limelight, but whose work spoke volumes in the performance of the teams he guided. His move to Miami was seen as a natural progression, an opportunity to take the reins and showcase a philosophy that blends creativity with precision. Fans quickly fell in love with the team's brand of football under McDaniel: fast-paced, unpredictable, and highly effective. Quarterbacks thrived, running backs found new dimensions to their game, and wide receivers seemed to reach new heights. Analysts repeatedly cited his ability to adapt schemes week to week, his knack for exploiting defenses, and his uncanny sense of when to push aggressive plays or hold back just enough to preserve momentum. His resignation, therefore, feels almost like a plot twist in a story that had only just begun to reach its climax. There are those in Miami who speculate that McDaniel's departure may have deeper roots than mere personal reasons. Some insiders hint at clashes with upper management, subtle disagreements over roster construction, salary cap allocations, or even draft strategy. Others suggest that the intense scrutiny and pressure that come with leading a team in one of the NFL's most scrutinized markets may have contributed to his decision. Dolphins fans know that Miami is a city where expectations are sky high, and the margin for error is razor thin. A coach of McDaniel's caliber, who has spent years perfecting an offense that balances aggression with efficiency, may have felt constrained by external pressures, unable to fully implement the vision he had painstakingly developed. Yet, even amidst speculation, one thing is indisputable: McDaniel leaves behind a team shaped in his image, a roster imbued with his strategic fingerprints, and a fan base that had begun to dream in vivid color about playoff glory. The timing of this resignation also raises intriguing questions about the NFL landscape as a whole. Teams across the league are undoubtedly taking note, evaluating how this sudden shift might impact trade dynamics, free agency, and even coaching vacancies. Miami, a franchise that has long flirted with contention but struggled to break through, suddenly faces a crossroads. Will they attempt to retain the core of McDaniel's staff and hope for continuity, or is this the opening for a complete organizational reset? Names are already being floated in quiet corridors: coaches from other teams, offensive coordinators with reputations for innovation, even former players turned tacticians. The rumor mill is running at full throttle, with every unnamed source suggesting different scenarios, each more tantalizing than the last. The uncertainty is palpable, and the entire league seems to be holding its breath, waiting to see how the Dolphins respond to what many are calling one of the most shocking coaching moves in recent NFL history. Of course, no discussion of McDaniel's resignation would be complete without acknowledging the personal dimension. The life of an NFL coach is grueling. Long hours, constant travel, and the relentless pressure to win can take a toll on even the most dedicated individuals. Mike McDaniel, by all accounts, has always been fiercely private, a man who lets his work speak louder than words. Perhaps this decision reflects a desire to step back, reassess priorities, or even recharge before embarking on a new chapter. Yet, for fans who have followed his career closely, it feels abrupt, almost abrupt enough to leave a lingering sense of unfinished business. Social media is aflame with reactions, from heartbreak to curiosity, as supporters debate what comes next. Memes, speculative threads, and heartfelt messages from players and colleagues alike paint a vivid picture of a community trying to process what is, without exaggeration, a seismic shift in the NFL coaching landscape. Analysts are dissecting the potential ripple effects of this move. How will the Dolphins adapt without the architect of their offensive renaissance? Can the team maintain the momentum McDaniel cultivated, or will this spark a period of uncertainty and adjustment that impacts performance on the field? Rival teams, naturally, are circling like hawks, considering how a suddenly coachless Dolphins squad might alter playoff projections and AFC dynamics. Meanwhile, agents, and potential coaching candidates are seizing the moment, knowing that an opportunity of this magnitude, leading a team poised for contention, is a rare and valuable opening. Even more speculative discussions have emerged about McDaniel's potential future destinations. Some whisper that he might return to a coordinator role to recalibrate, while others suggest that a high-profile offensive position with another franchise could be on the horizon. Every scenario fuels further intrigue, keeping fans, analysts, and league insiders glued to the unfolding narrative. Reflecting on McDaniel's career, it's impossible not to recognize the journey he undertook to reach this point. From the Broncos sidelines in 2005 to becoming the youngest head coach in Miami's modern era, his ascent has been marked by intelligence, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to growth. His connection to Mike Shanahan's coaching tree is more than pedigree. It's a philosophy, a set of principles emphasizing preparation, innovation, and the cultivation of players' strengths. Those principles have defined McDaniel's teams, resulting in some of the most exciting and efficient offenses in the league. His departure, then, is not just a personal milestone. It's a seismic event for the Dolphins organization and the NFL at large. It is the kind of news that prompts reflection on how critical coaching leadership is, how one individual's vision can transform a team, and how quickly the football landscape can shift when that leadership vanishes. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.